Revealed, Billionaire's mother unexpectedly becomes a cleaner to find her son the love of his life. Lydia woke to the blare of an alarm clock that seemed to mock her existence. Was this really her life now? The bells of her past life, filled with high society events and champagne toasts, faded into the background as she slipped into worn sneakers and a faded hoodie. Once, she was the queen of charity galas. Now, she was just another cleaner in a bustling community center. The Zara blouses and jeweled bracelets were gone, replaced by the drudgery of scrubbing floors and emptying trash bins. Yet it wasn't just the loss of wealth that stung her heart. It was the absence of her son. Jake, estranged for years, filled with fire and passion as a community organizer, was an idea, a shadow she couldn't reach. Each scrub of her mop was a step closer to him, a small hope of reconnecting. She would leave no corner unturned in her quest to reclaim her SONAS. She worked through the shift. Lydia encountered a tapestry of everyday struggles and triumphs around her. A single mother juggled her 2 kids while juggling a job interview on her phone. A veteran shared stories with a group of teenagers, making them laugh despite the scars of his past. Each moment was a reminder of resilience, and each laugh brought warmth to Lydia's tight chest. One day, while dusting off the shelves in the craft room, she overheard kids talking animatedly about Jake. "He's going to change everything with that fundraiser," one boy exclaimed, his eyes shining with admiration. Lydia couldn't help but smile, a bittersweet mix of pride and sorrow enveloping her. What could she say to him after all these years? Could a woman who had lost it all ever be accepted in the life Jake had forged? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Days passed, and Lydia's heart ached as she faced subtle prejudices, former friends visiting the center for help, casting sidelong glances, looking at her as if she were a charity case herself. It stoked a fire within her, indignation whispering that perhaps she could advocate for others the way Jake had. The cleaner was becoming an advocate, determined to fight prejudice on her terms. Then, one fortuitous afternoon, while rummaging through some boxes, Lydia discovered a notebook. Flipping through the pages, she unearthed poetry, powerful spoken-word pieces written by Jake. Each line spoke of struggle, hope, and community. She felt his soul vibrating through the ink. This was the voice that could ignite a movement, a voice that could unify hearts. But as the walls of her past crumbled around her, Lydia faced an agonizing question. Should she return to her old life to help him, risking her fragile standing in the community, or stand by Jake's side by side with the people she had once overlooked? She stood at a daunting crossroads, her breath quickening as a familiar phone rang. Would it be the past calling her back, or a chance to finally start anew? In that moment, Lydia realized she would have to decide. Could love bridge the gap, or were the fissures of their past too deep to mend? Lydia stood frozen, the phone vibrating in her palm, while the echoes of her choices rang in her ears. With each ring, memories rushed forward, snippets of laughter, her heart bursting with pride at Jake's achievements. But also the hurt, the fights, the misunderstandings that turned a mother-son bond into a shaky bridge. She took a deep breath and answered, her heart racing. "Hello, Lydia." A voice crackled through the static. It was Sarah, Jake's closest friend and ally in the community. "I wasn't sure if you'd pick up. We really need you." The urgency in Sarah's tone set her pulse racing. It wasn't just a casual call. Something was afoot. "What is going on?" Lydia asked, her heart sinking. Had something happened to Jake? "It's the fundraiser. We're in a bit of a crisis. One of our main sponsors just pulled out, and without that funding, it could all fall apart. I know you have connections. Would you consider helping us?" Lydia's mind raced. Thoughts of fancy galas and high-stake negotiations flashed before her eyes. But that was a lifetime ago. Now, every inch of her rebuked the idea that she could be of any use in that world. Yet, something deeper stirred inside her, a flicker of purpose. She had once thrived in that arena, weaving through social circles with grace. "I'll come," she finally said. The words felt foreign, bold, and terrifying. But there it was, the first step towards reconnecting with Jake. Her son needed her, and she couldn't falter. Sarah squealed with delight. "Thank you. We're meeting at the center in 30 minutes. I can't wait to see you." Lydia hung up and tried to calm the fluttering in her chest. She washed her hands swiftly, looking at her reflection in the bathroom mirror. The woman staring back had the same determined eyes she remembered from her past, a woman who refused to back down from a challenge. Arriving at the center, she stepped inside, her sneakers scuffing against the tiled floor. The familiar scent of cleaning supplies mingled with the aroma of fresh coffee, a comforting, chaotic atmosphere. Jake's friends buzzed around the room, their faces a mixture of stress and hope. Lydia felt an unexpected swell of pride, seeing how much they cared about their community, how each of them embodied the spirit she once championed. "Lydia," Sarah rushed over, her hair bouncing with every step. "You made it. We have so much to discuss." They huddled around a table strewn with papers, charts, and colorful flyers. As Lydia leaned in, absorbing their plans, she felt a sense of belonging return. Each idea they tossed around sparked something within her, a sense of unity, a reminder of who she was. But then a familiar voice drifted through the chatter, calling her name. Lydia turned, heart pounding. Jake stepped through the doorway, eyes scanning the room until they landed on her. For a moment, time stood still. Everything she had yearned for, the chance to reconnect, to apologize, to be part of his world, hung in the air between them. The tension cracked like ice, and the moment before them felt both fragile and electrifying. Would he embrace her, or would their shared history send him away? As he took a step forward, she noted his expression, confusion mingled with surprise. Lydia had been an estranged ghost up until now. What would he think of her? "Mom?" he said, his voice low and uncertain, but the door was finally ajar. A rush of words filled her throat, the apologies and explanations struggling for release. Could she find the right words to share her journey, to tell him she had changed? But first, she needed to bridge the silence looming over them like an unyielding wall. "Can we talk?" she finally managed, and the hope in her chest twisted with anxiety. He paused, their eyes locking, and in that moment, Lydia knew she would have to risk everything for this chance. But would he meet her halfway? As her heart raced, the silence deepened, and she wondered if this moment could change everything or push them further apart. Jake hesitated, his gaze darting away momentarily, as if he were searching for words hidden in the crowd. Lydia felt the weight of every second stretch between them, thickening the air and swelling her anxiety. What if this was all too late? What if he couldn't see past the hurt she had caused? Sure, he finally replied, his brows knitted together with uncertainty. "We can talk." Relief washed over Lydia. She stepped forward, trying to mask the trembling in her hands. The room was still buzzing with activity, but it felt like they were in their own little bubble. As they found a secluded corner, surrounded by half-finished banners and the soft hum of conversation, Lydia tightened her grip on the edge of the table. "Jake," she began, her voice steadier than she felt. "I know I haven't been around, and I know that I messed up." She looked into his eyes, searching for some sign of understanding, some flicker of the bond they once cherished. He crossed his arms, looking down at the floor. "You just disappeared, Mom. It felt like I didn't matter." The pain laced in his words sliced through her like a knife. "No, that's not true. You've always mattered. It's complicated. I thought distancing myself would help." She paused, the familiar feeling of guilt washing over her. "But I see now that it only hurt you. I'm so sorry." His eyes met hers, revealing a storm of emotions. "It's just," he started, only to stop again, lips pressed tightly together. "You sent me away when I needed you. I don't understand why. I thought I was protecting you." She faltered, I thought if I stayed absent, if you didn't see the mess I had become, you could move on with your life without me dragging you down. So you thought disappearing was the answer? His piercing tone tangled with hurt. You couldn't even face me? Tears prickled at the corners of Lydia's eyes. I was scared, she whispered, her voice trembling. Scared I would ruin everything. And I was too caught up in my own failures to realize that you needed me regardless. Jake took a deep breath, running a hand through his hair, clearly frustrated but sensing her sincerity. You think just showing up makes everything okay? I don't expect forgiveness. I just want a chance to show you I can be better, she said, the emotion in her voice bubbling to the surface. I want to help with the fundraiser. I want to help you. A flicker of surprise crossed his face, and for a moment, Lydia thought she saw hope behind the clouds of hurt. Why now? Because I want to be part of your life again. I want to make things right, Jake. Not just for you, but for me too. I missed you. Silence fell between them once more, but this time it felt different, charged with possibility. She held her breath, waiting for his response, for a sign that maybe, just maybe, he could allow her back, and he shifted his weight, torn between resentment and a yearning that mirrored her own. I don't know if it's enough, he finally said, his voice quieter, wrestling with his emotions. Lydia felt a pang in her chest, the fear of rejection creeping back in. If you give me a chance, I promise I'll show you. This I'm here, Jake. Really here. Jake glanced over his shoulder, as if unsure of who was listening, then back to her, something softening in his features. Okay, let us see what you can do. But it's going to take time. Time. Just the word rang with both anxiety and hope. I'm willing to try, she said, her voice wavering with newfound determination. They locked eyes again, and in that moment, a fragile but tangible connection emerged. The possibility of a second chance flickered like a distant star in an endless night, as they turned from each other. Lydia felt a little lighter, a hint of warmth threading its way through her heart. But uncertainty still loomed, and as they stepped back into the noise of the center, she knew the hardest part was still ahead. Would they be strong enough to weather the storms that lay in front of them? The thought hung in the air, leaving Lydia questioning if hope could mend the wounds of the past, or if their fragile bridge would be. Swept away once more, Lydia took a deep breath, her heart still racing from their conversation. The weight of her past choices pressed heavily on her chest, but a flicker of hope ignited within her. As she scanned the bustling room, vibrant with laughter and upbeat chatter, she couldn't help but wish that this was the beginning of something different. Jake lingered a few steps away, his expression softening momentarily as he spoke to a friend. The excitement in his voice made Lydia's heart swell, but doubts crept back in. Could she really help him? Could she truly be the mother he deserved? She brushed a stray hair from her face, shaking off the negativity. Today was about making strides forward, not dwelling on what had already stained their past. As she approached the group he was talking with, she overheard snippets of their laughter. And then he just tripped over his own feet. Jake laughed, a sound that felt like music to her ears. The carefree joy in his voice was something she missed so dearly. "Hey, Jake," Lydia called out, summoning her courage. The attention shifted to her, and she felt the crowd's energy dip momentarily. Was this felt rejection? She took a breath, determined not to retreat. "Can we brainstorm some ideas for the fundraiser together?" Jake raised an eyebrow, but nodded, his friends drifting away as he stepped closer to her. "Sure, what do you have in mind?" His tone was cautious, but she could see a glimmer of interest. "Let's make it fun. What if we had food stalls and activities? Maybe games for the kids?" She rushed through her ideas, her enthusiasm bubbling up. "We could get the local businesses involved. It could really bring the community together." He considered her words, crossing his arms as he did. "That could work. But will you really be around to help? I mean, we still need volunteers to run everything." "I promise," she replied, her voice firm. "I'm committed to this. I'm committed to you." It felt liberating to say those words out loud. A fresh resolve coursed through her veins that a flicker of something crossed Jake's face. Was it hope or skepticism? She couldn't be sure. "All right then," he said, taking a small step back. "If you really want to help." "I do," she interrupted, squeezing his arm gently. I just want to be part of your life again, Jake. Starting with this. He studied her for a moment, a mixture of emotions playing across his features. Then, he sighed, seemingly resigned. Okay, I'll trust you for now. The truth hung heavy in the air between them. A fragile pact formed in that crowded space. Lydia couldn't help but feel lighter, yet the road ahead would be filled with challenges. Was she messed up again? Would Jake ever truly heal from the wound she inflicted? Just then, a commotion from across the room drew their attention. A tall figure with an air of authority entered, surveying the space like a hawk. Lydia's heart sank when she recognized him, one of the community leaders who had spoken after her disappearance. She fought to suppress the anxiety creeping up, her chest tightening. Lydia? Jake's voice interrupted her thoughts, pulling her back to him. Are you okay? His brows furrowed with concern, and she realized her pulse was racing again. Yes, I'm fine, she lied, forcing a smile. But as the leader made his way through the crowd, a sense of foreboding settled in. He approached, and Lydia braced herself. Would he bring up her past, or worse, Jake's? Lydia, we need to talk, he said firmly, and her heart dropped. Jake glanced between her and the leader, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. What now? He asked, the protective instinct surfacing. Lydia could barely breathe. Just give me a second, she murmured, swallowing hard as she turned to face the man who held so many pieces of her past. The tension thickened, and a moment of truth loomed. Would this conversation push everything she had begun to rebuild with Jake back into chaos? Lydia felt her stomach knot as the leader stepped closer. His presence loomed over her like a dark cloud, a reminder of everything she had fought to escape. The vibrant laughter and chatter of the fundraiser faded into a dull roar in her ears, her focus narrowing to this man, the embodiment of her fears. Lydia, he said, his voice low and steady, you've been away for far too long. The community deserves answers. His gaze pinned her in place, sending shivers down her spine. Jake shifted beside her. What do you mean? He asked, his tone protective, but curiosity flickered in his eyes. Lydia wanted to scream for him to stop, to run, to escape this confrontation. I need to know why you left without a word, the leader challenged, his brow furrowing with intensity. You owe it to everyone who cared about you. Her breath hitched, a lump forming in her throat. Lydia glanced sideways at Jake, who looked torn between loyalty and confusion. Could he understand what this man was really asking? Could he sense how deep this cut was? She searched Jake's eyes for reassurance, but all she saw was a mix of concern and realization that he had no idea who she once was. I had my reasons, she stammered, trying to keep her voice steady. It wasn't about abandoning anyone. I know one believes that. The leader's interruption was harsh, slicing through her feeble defense. People think you just vanished when things got hard. What do you expect? They want to know the truth. The words echoed in her mind. She had never been a good liar, never had a way with words like others. Just the thought of looking back, admitting all the mistakes, felt like a tidal wave threatening to crash over her. All the guilt bubbled up, her resolve wavering under the weight of this new pressure. Jake, can we just, she struggled to find her voice, to manage the tide of emotions surging within her. Can we talk about this later? No. This is where it all begins, the leader insisted, crossing his arms defiantly. You have to confront your past. It's the only way to move forward. What if I don't want to? She shot back, her defensiveness rising like a shield. Her heart raced as she felt the crowd starting to gather, their whispers making her feel trapped. Jake sensed the shift. Lydia, he started, but the leader interrupted again. Your son deserves to know who you are. Each word was like a hammer, driving into her heart. The anguish in her chest deepened with every syllable. Lydia turned to Jake, his eyes wide, searching for understanding, for clarity. She could see the questions swirling in his mind, and the weight of her secrecy was slowly shifting the ground beneath her. Could she expose everything she had hidden from him? The burden she had carried alone for so long threatened to topple over. Lydia, Do you want to hide from your past forever? The leader pressed on, his voice relentless. The moment hung between them, thick with tension and unsaid words. She felt like she was teetering on the edge of an abyss, and all she could do was look into Jake's eyes, praying for a sign. As she opened her mouth to respond, the noise of the room dulled, and she could hear the thud of her heart, a chaotic rhythm echoing her uncertainty. What would she reveal, and at what cost? Would the truth help her rebuild her relationship with Jake or shatter it completely? Before she could form a coherent thought, a loud crash diverted their attention. A table full of decorations had toppled over. Gasps filled the air, and for the first time, the spotlight shifted away from her, leaving Lydia with a fleeting moment of reprieve. "Let us handle this," Jake said, worry etched on his face as he turned to help. But Lydia felt anchored to the spot, the weight of everything still tethering her down. In that split second, she faced a choice. Would she run from her past, or finally confront the shadows that had haunted her for years? As she took a tentative step forward, a new resolve began to stir within her. What lay ahead could either bind or free her. She just had to find the courage to embrace the truth. Yet before she could take another step, the leader's voice called out once more, compelling her to face the painful reckoning that awaited. "Lydia, when you're ready to talk, I'll be waiting." What lay ahead felt uncertain, but one thing was clear. This conversation was far from over. The real battle was just beginning. Lydia stood frozen for a moment, her mind racing as chaos swirled around her. The laughter that once filled the room faded away, replaced by the frantic shuffling of people trying to clear the mess from the overturned table. She could still feel the weight of the leader's stare, his words echoing in her ears. "Your son deserves to know who you are." Her heart pounded painfully in her chest. She and T thought about the ramifications, about the truth unspooling. If the community knew who she truly was, they would see her not just as Lydia, the woman they once cared about, but as the person who had run away from everything. The fear of judgment clawed at her insides. "Are you okay?" Jake's low voice cut through her thoughts, and she turned to meet his concerned gaze, his brow furrowed. The confusion and worry etched on his features made her ache. "I don't know," she admitted, the honesty slipping out before she could stop it. "I don't even know who I am anymore." Jake took a step closer, taking her hand gently. "You're still you, Lydia. Whatever happened back then, it doesn't change the person you are today. You don't owe them anything." "Do I?" she whispered, her throat tightening as tears threatened to spill over. "What they're right. What if I'm a coward who ran away? Running doesn't define you. Your journey does." He squeezed her hand, and warmth rushed through her, battling the icy grip of fear. "But you need to confront this if you ever want to be free of it." The cacophony around them faded once again, leaving only the soft sound of their breaths. "You're right," she said, her voice steadier than she'd expected. She released a shaky exhale, a spark of determination igniting within her. "I need to face this. For myself. For my son." The world swirled back into focus, triggering a sudden sense of urgency within her. The leader was still watching, still waiting. She had to confront her past, to unravel the knots she had tied for far too long. Gathering herself, Lydia took a deep breath. "Jake, I need to go." She looked earnestly into his eyes, searching for his support. "I need to talk to him." As she stepped forward, she felt a new wave of fear crashing over her. But it was different this time, a raw, pulsating energy that screamed for release. She could no longer hide behind everything she'd built. It was time to dismantle the fortress of lies, brick by brick. The leader met her halfway, a surprised look crossing his face. "You decided to talk?" "I have," she replied, feeling the strength of her words deep in her bones. "But not just for you. For the people I left behind, and for the son I love." The crowd had settled now, their eyes drawn to the unfolding scene. Whispers filled the air, a mix of surprise and curiosity. Lydia's heart raced as she realized they would witness the steady unraveling of her past. "What do I tell them?" She wondered aloud, fear creeping back in. This was her moment to reveal the truth, but she felt the weight of so many stories tangled up inside her. Just start with honesty, Jake suggested, standing silently by her side, ready to support her no matter what. You believe in me? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Always, he affirmed, his confidence in her unwavering. Lydia took the plunge, stepping into the unknown, heart racing, thoughts a whirlwind. She turned to face the crowd, and as the eyes focused on her with a mixture of scrutiny and expectancy, one thought burned brightly in her mind. This was just the beginning of her redemption or her downfall. And just as she opened her mouth to speak, the door swung open, and a new figure entered, shattering the fragile moment. "Mom?" The voice echoed in the silence, striking like lightning through the tension-filled air. Lydia froze, her heart ceasing in that heartbeat. This wasn't how she envisioned it. Would this be the moment of her salvation, or would it tear everything down? The answer hung in the air, and she knew this wasn't over yet. Lydia's breath hitched in her throat. The voice was so familiar, yet it echoed from a past she thought she'd left behind. She turned slowly, her heart racing as she faced her son. His wide eyes, filled with disbelief and confusion, pierced right through her. "Mom?" he repeated, his tone a mix of desperation and longing. To shuffling in the crowd followed, whispers rising like a wave of uncertainty. Lydia's mind scrambled to find the right words, but all she felt was the weight of her decisions crashing down around her. "What are you doing here?" her son asked, taking a cautious step forward, as if afraid she might disappear again. "I came to talk," she stammered, feeling the heat rise in her cheeks, the eyes of the crowd heavy on her back. Desperation clutched at her heart. "I didn't know you'd be here." He shook his head, confusion etching deeper lines across his face. "You left, Mom. You didn't just leave. You abandoned us." Each word sounded like a dagger, slicing through the years of silence. Lydia opened her mouth, wanting to explain, to take back the pain she'd caused, but words eluded her. The truth felt like an avalanche, threatening to bury her anyway. "Please, just listen to me," she managed, her voice trembling. "I didn't want to leave. I thought I was protecting you, protecting me." He interjected, bitterness lacing his words. "You think running away protects me? You think I didn't need my mother?" The crowd shifted, their murmurs rising, turning into a cacophony of judgment and sympathy. Lydia felt utterly exposed. Her son's anger struck her harder than she ever expected, and tears pricked at her eyes. "Jake," she said, desperate for him to step in her line of sight, ready to support her again. "Can you help me?" He stepped slightly forward, acknowledging the depth of the moment. "This is your truth, Lydia. Don't run from it now. They need to understand." Lydia swallowed hard, searching her son's eyes for some flicker of understanding. "I know I messed up. I know I hurt you, and I regret it every day. But I came back because I love you. I want you to know the truth." "What truth?" He scoffed, eyeing her skeptically. "That you're just going to run away again?" "No." The word burst from her lips. "I'm here now. I want to stay. I want to help to mend what I've broken." The silence deepened as her son stared at her, vulnerability and hurt layered in his expression. Was there a chance for forgiveness? Would he allow her to rebuild what had been broken? "Why now?" he asked, the tremor in his voice betraying his effort to stay composed. "What changed?" "I realized that running wasn't the answer," she admitted, her voice steadying slightly. "I've been running from my truth, from you, and I can't do that anymore. I didn't need to hide. I just needed to face the monster I created." A flicker of something crossed his face. Could it be hope? Or was it still skepticism? Lydia Jake started, but she shook her head, her eyes fixed on her son. "This isn't just about me," she pressed, taking a step closer, heart pounding, vulnerability laid bare. "It's about healing for both of us." He hesitated, and in that pause, she felt a flicker of support from the crowd. Some leaned closer, intrigued by the mother-son reunion unfolding. "Let me tell you everything," she urged, her words rushing out. "Let me show you who I've become, why I left, and why I'm here now. I owe you that much. And just as she began again, a familiar voice penetrated the air from the back, causing Lydia to freeze once more. Lydia, you can't possibly think you can just come back after all these years. The shockwaves of that declaration rippled through her, tightening her chest. Her past had come crashing back, but what would it reveal this time? Would she find the courage to face it, or would it drag her deeper into despair? Lydia's heart raced as she recognized the voice that called her name, thick with anger and disbelief. It cut through the crowded hall like a knife. She turned slowly, dread pooling in her stomach as she took in the figure stepping forward, Maggie, her estranged sister, the very last person she wanted to face in this moment. What are you doing here? Maggie's voice was sharp, defensive. Her arms were crossed tightly against her chest, her expression a mixture of disbelief and rage. I came to talk to Jake, Lydia stammered, her gaze darting back to her son, whose eyes were flitting between his mother and his aunt. Talk, Maggie scoffed. You think you can just waltz back in after abandoning him and expect everything to be fine? You left, Lydia. You chose your escape over your family. Well, why do you have to come back now? Lydia felt the heat rising in her cheeks. She opened her mouth to defend herself, but the words stuck in her throat. After all the years apart, the wounds were still raw, and Maggie's condemnation felt like a mirror reflecting her own guilt back at her. Is this who you are now? The prodigal mother? Maggie continued, each word like a hammer. The onlookers in the crowd seemed to hold their breath, waiting to see how this scene would unfold. Lydia saw Jake shifting uncomfortably, the disappointment evident on his face. His heart had been wagging between hope and skepticism, and now it was wavering once more. No, it's not like that. Lydia finally found her voice. I didn't leave because I wanted to hurt you. I was lost. I thought I was protecting him by abandoning him. You call that protection? Maggie's voice dripped with incredulity. You think running away solved anything? Did you ever think about how that made him feel? Her sister's biting words twisted the knife in Lydia's heart deeper. She was right. Every sleepless night and every tear shed since her departure had weighed on her immensely. But right now, she couldn't let the past swallow her whole. I own my mistakes, Lydia said, her heart thudding loudly in her chest. I know I messed up. I know I can't erase the past. But I'm here now, ready to make things right. Can't you see that? A flicker of hesitation passed over Maggie's face, as if weighing the pain against the possibility of redemption. Lydia seized the moment, taking a steadying breath before she continued. Please, let me try, she begged, her tone softening, brimming with sincerity. Not just for me, but for Jake. He deserves to know why I left and to hear from me my truth. As silence enveloped them, the crowd's presence faded somewhat. All Lydia saw was the simmering conflict in Jake's eyes, the struggle between love for her and resentment for what she had done. One chance, Maggie finally said, her expression a mix of protective fury and hope. You get one chance. If you're really here to mend things, you'd better do it with the truth. Because Jake doesn't deserve half-hearted apologies or more empty promises. Lydia nodded slowly, feeling the weight of that agreement pressed down on her shoulders. I understand. Suddenly, Jake took a step forward. If you want to tell me everything, then let us just do it, but it better be the truth, Mom. His voice was stronger now, tinged with a firmness that she admired. Let us find somewhere quiet, Lydia suggested, her heart racing with a mixture of relief and dread. She caught Maggie's wary gaze, silently pleading for understanding. As they moved away from the crowd, Lydia felt an aching warmth blossom in her chest. This was her chance. The path to healing was finally laid before her. But as they stepped out to a quieter area, she couldn't shake the feeling of impending turmoil. What would happen when the truth finally came crashing down? Would it heal them or tear them apart once more? She steadied her breath, determined to face whatever was about to unfold. It was time to share the story that had haunted her for too long. As they settled down, she looked around, gathering courage. Would her past ruin her future, or could forgiveness emerge from the wreckage? Lydia found a bench tucked away in a corner of the park, sheltered by sprawling trees that swayed gently in the cool breeze. The world around them faded, the sounds of laughter and chatter muted as their little trio settled down. Maggie took a step back, arms still crossed, her eyes trained on Lydia like a hawk ready to swoop down at the slightest misstep. Jake sat between them, shifting nervously. He looked at his mom, then back at Maggie, caught in the middle of a storm he never wanted to be a part of. Lydia could see that his heart was racing, just like hers once was at the thought of having to face reality. "Mom," Jake started, his voice wavering. "You said you were here to tell me the truth. So tell me." Just those two simple words had the power to crack open a dam inside her. Lydia felt the lump in her throat grow, but she swallowed hard, forcing herself to articulate her long-buried fears. I need to tell you everything, Jake. This isn't easy for me." "Then make it easy for us," Maggie interjected, her tone sharp and unforgiving as usual. "You claimed you wanted to protect him. So protect him now by being honest." Lydia nodded, pulling a breath deep into her lungs. "It was never meant to be this way. When I left, I thought I was doing what I had to do to keep you safe. I never meant to abandon either of you." She cast her eyes downward, searching for the right words. "I was drowning in my own confusion and pain. I thought if I left, you both could start fresh without me dragging you down." Jake's expression held a mix of disbelief and sadness, making her heart ache all over again. "But you didn't even say goodbye. You left us without a word." "I know, and I'm sorry," Lydia said, her voice trembling. "I was terrified. I felt like a failure as a mother. I thought that maybe if I disappeared, you'd be better off with someone else. I thought you'd forget me. I didn't want you to see me falter." "Forget you?" Jake whispered, his voice breaking. "I never wanted to forget you. I just wanted to understand why." Maggie stepped forward, her defenses only slightly lowered. "You said you were lost. But how could you be so lost that you lost sight of your own son?" There was an edge to her voice, but Lydia could see the flicker of concern beneath it. "Because I was losing myself," Lydia admitted, feeling each word lift a weight from her chest. "I thought leaving would be the solution, but instead, I just ran away from the truth, my truth. And now, I'm here to face it." Jake's gaze softened, and she could sense a longing for connection pulsing beneath the disappointment. "What do you want to say? Please just say it. I want you to know I love you," Lydia said, her voice breaking like a dam loaded with emotions. "Even when I was gone, I loved you fiercely. I never stopped thinking of you or wishing I could be there." Tears brimmed in her eyes, catching the light. Jake's expression was a tapestry of emotions: hurt, sadness, and the faintest hint of hope weaving through. "But now what, Mom? Now that you're back, what is supposed to happen?" Each question from her son felt like an arrow, piercing through the veil of hope she tried to construct. "I want to be in your life again, but I also understand if you can't trust me." Maggie's brow furrowed. It was clear she was considering 1,000 things all at once. She turned slowly to Jake. "This is a choice you need to make." Lydia felt her chest tighten. This decision could fracture everything, and the thought of losing Jake again was unbearable. Would he turn his back on her, or would he offer her the chance to earn back his trust? The silence thickened, wrapping around them like a cocoon, full of potential yet heavy with uncertainty. Lydia held her breath, feeling the ground beneath her tremble with the weight of what hung in the air. Then Jake whispered, "I need time." His words crashed against Lydia like a tidal wave, the uncertainty flooding her with a painful mix of fear and yearning. Time. It was all she had to offer, and all she feared losing again. Will time be enough? She wondered as another wave of silence fell upon them. But deep down, she understood perhaps this time would be different. Perhaps this was just the beginning. With each passing day, Lydia committed herself to being part of the community she once overlooked. The days blended into weeks, each filled with laughter, hard work, and a deepening bond she was beginning to rebuild with Jake. She found herself dropping in at the community center, slowly slipping into the role of a loving mother and active advocate. Jake, while still guarded, seemed to open up ever so slightly with each shared laugh or heated brainstorming session for the fundraiser they were planning together. It was in these moments that Lydia felt a spark of hope. They were not yet whole, but there was momentum, a renewal of love budding beneath the lingering shadows of the past point one afternoon. As Lydia restocked supplies in the craft room, her heart swelled. She watched as kids flocked toward Jake, who was leading an art workshop. The joy and excitement on their faces mirrored her own thrill to see him shine. It was during these small victories she felt the full weight of what she had yearned for. Her family was slowly rebuilding, and with it came the strength she needed to share her story. "Jake, can we talk?" she said, interrupting his laughter with the kids. He glanced up, a flicker of surprise darting across his face. The corners of his mouth curled into a cautious smile, and he nodded, his eyes encouraging as he ushered the children away. Once they settled in a quiet nook, an air of tension filled the space. "What is up, Mom?" he asked, leaning against the wall. "I wanted to hear how you feel about everything about us," she said softly. "I know it's still a work in progress, and I'm grateful for every moment." Jake's brow furrowed. "It has been good, I suppose. But I can't shake the fear of losing you again." "Jake," she started, searching for the right words. "The truth is, I was scared for so long. Scared of who I became, scared I might ruin us. But I realize now that running was not the way to protect you. I need to show you who I truly am." His gaze softened a bit, but still, hesitation lingered. "What if you slip again? What if the past repeats?" Lydia's heart sank. "I can't promise that everything will be perfect, but I promise I'm here now, showing up as the mother you deserve." He exhaled slowly, processing her sincerity. "It'll take a lot more than that to build trust. I need to see you fight for this for us." "I will," she promised, determination flooding her voice. "I'm committed to being present, to doing better. You've shown me how to connect with the community, and I want to help it thrive together. I want to help you." The warmth of his smile slowly unfurled, igniting hope in the deep recesses of her heart. "All right," he said finally, a grin breaking through the seriousness. "Let's build something." They shared a moment of laughter, a promise hanging in the air. That laughter echoed around them like music, filling the once void spaces in Lydia's heart. Perhaps, just perhaps, this was the new beginning they both needed. As the fundraiser approached, Lydia found herself at the heart of every planning session, gathering volunteers and rallying skills from the community. The energy was contagious, and for the first time in years, she felt whole. With Jake by her side, each hurdle transformed into an opportunity for connection rather than a reminder of the scars that had once defined their relationship. The day of the fundraiser arrived. Excitement crackled in the air, with banners fluttering in the breeze and the scent of fresh food wafting from stalls. Lydia stood nervously, her hands clenching as she watched the crowd gather. Jake appeared at her side, beaming with pride. "Look at this," he said, eyes sparkling. "We did it, Mom." She turned, overwhelmed by the sense of community she was enveloped in. "You're right. We did it together." With a deep breath, they took the stage together. Lydia cleared her throat, and as she began to speak, her heart filled with gratitude. "Thank you all for coming today. I'm so grateful for this chance to not only support our youth, but to reconnect with my son and this incredible community. It's all about coming together, standing united, especially when we face challenges." Jake stepped up beside her. "Without each of you, this wouldn't be possible. We learned that in our darkest times, love, honesty, and a willingness to fight for what matters can bring light back into our lives." As they exchanged glances, a palpable connection filled the air, two hearts reunited, weathered but resolute, ready to soar into a brighter future. Surrounded by laughter, clapping, and the love surrounding them like a warm hug, Lydia felt deeply loved and accepted. The past had shaped her, but did not define her anymore. She had transformed, evolving alongside the son she once feared she'd lost forever. As the day drew to a close, Lydia stood by Jake, watching them pack up. For the first time, she felt like a part of a family again, a woman no longer defined by her mistakes, but by her resilience and their shared love. "Thank you for believing in me," she whispered to Jake, the words thick with emotion. And as he squeezed her hand, she realized that this was only the beginning of a new chapter, a testament to redemption, love, and the unwavering spirit of family. Life would still throw challenges their way, but together they were stronger. Stepping forward, Lydia embraced her journey with an open heart, finally ready to cherish every moment. That if you found inspiration and hope in Lydia and Jake's journey, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support, and don't wait not even one more second to share this among your friends who need to see this transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and comment below your thoughts and feelings about this ending. Your engagement matters, and as true fans, you know how important it is to back the channel.